Senior Vice President and Provost of Global Life University. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Marc Buxton III.
As I grew in ministry and started having other opportunities and following the Lord and learning what to do, I learned some leadership principles that helped me balance all of that and do all of that. And Luke and I were talking in the back earlier about this session, and I was thinking about it, and I said it really comes down for me to two things, how to do that. It comes down to number one, having systems in place. And if you were here yesterday, Pastor Doug Dameron talked about systems. It's really about being organized and being able to see everything that you need to see and put them in the right places. So that's the first thing. The second thing is learning to delegate. If you're going to scale your ministry, you have to learn how to delegate. You have to have a team to help you. And he mentioned our church planting. We planted a church in Metro Manila about 12 years ago. And out of that church now we've birthed two other churches. And actually our two pastors are here. Pastor Rodell is here. Pastor Toey is here, our third generation church. But we can't do that without delegation. You can't do that without teams. And so it really comes down to those two things, systems and delegation. So let me just comment on a couple of systems that have helped me, and then we can open it up to questions or anything that anybody wants to ask. The first system that I learned when I was a young leader that really helped me organize things and be able to do a lot of these ministries was from a leader named Michael Hyatt. And Michael Hyatt was the CEO of Thomas Nelson Publishing. And if you have any sizable library, any of you pastors have any books, check your bookshelf when you get home. Probably half of them are published by Thomas Nelson. They're one of the largest publishers in the world. He was the CEO of that for a long time. He is a believer, and he's a leadership coach. And one of the things that Michael Hyatt uses, one of the tools that he developed, is what he calls his ideal week. Ideal week. And if you Google that, don't do it right now on your phone, but after this, Google Michael Hyatt Ideal Week, and it will come up with the spreadsheet he uses, videos about it, all this stuff. But the summary of it is basically creating themes for each day of the week that you're going to then fill in that theme with the ministries that you're trying to do. How many of you have more than one ministry that you're responsible for? More than one? Okay, it's like 85% of you. So for me, the Ideal Week is very helpful. So I can tell you that on Mondays, my theme for Mondays is our churches in Marikina City and our church planting, mentoring guys, staff meetings, vision for the church. That's what I'm doing on Mondays. Tuesday, and sometimes spilling over into Thursdays, I focus on our Bible college. I'm meeting with our Bible college team. I'm talking to people around the world about GLU, and I focus on that. If I'm preaching the next Sunday at our church, Wednesdays is my sermon development day, and I block that whole Wednesday. I don't do anything else that day. And anybody that knows me knows if you ask me to meet on Wednesday, the answer is going to be no, unless it's an emergency. Luke's experienced that probably. It's not happening because I'm developing the sermon that week. But those themes come from that Ideal Week idea. It's been super helpful for me. I can't imagine trying to do all the ministries that the Lord has given me to do without that level of organization. So I've been using that for probably 14 years. And about 2 years ago, I heard about somebody else that uses the same system. Now, he didn't get it from Michael Hyatt, but he described the exact same system. And his name is Elon Musk. How many of you are familiar with Elon Musk? I heard an interview with him. He just talks extemporaneously, and he was talking about his schedule. And he literally started describing how he has themed days. Now, Elon Musk runs a lot of global companies. He runs SpaceX, he runs Starlink associated with that, he runs Tesla, He runs X, just tons of different companies, Neuralink, all of these things. And he, basically the U.S. government, for about 6 months there. Busy guy. And they literally said, how do you do all that? And he said, well, Mondays is Tesla day. Fly to the office. I'm in the office with our Tesla team. Tuesdays is SpaceX. I'm meeting with our SpaceX engineers, and that's what I do. Wednesday, and he just went through this, and I said, that's the ideal week. That's literally what he's doing. Now, I don't know that I want to be Elon Musk. I think he's probably too busy, right? He's got so much going on. But for those of us who are busy here in ministry, sometimes we can feel overwhelmed. And I think a lot of times we feel overwhelmed because we don't have systems that allow us to say no. We don't have systems that will allow me to say to Pastor Lloyd, where's Pastor Lloyd? Where's he at? Our youth pastor. There you go, over there. Pastor Lloyd's our youth pastor in our church. If I need to meet with him or he wants to meet with me, if I don't have a system to say, well, I can't meet with you today, but let's meet on Tuesday, I could feel overwhelmed. I could feel stressed out. When am I going to meet with him? But I know when I'm going to try to do these things. Now, he also talks about, Michael Hyatt talks about the ideal week is not perfect. So no, I've never had an ideal week that I tried to plan out and it went exactly as I wanted it to go. Not happening, okay? You have to leave margin, you have to leave room for things to come up and to follow the Holy Spirit. But it's better than having no plan, I'll tell you that. So that's my first kind of thought there is have a daily theme. And then a couple other things that I learned, and then we can take any questions that you have. I learned something very important in leadership, and that is focus and doing one thing at a time. Do one thing at a time. We live in a super distracted world, right? It is super hard to do one thing at a time today. And we're all familiar with the term multitasking, right? Have you heard that term? Multitasking. Well, we can argue about this after the session, but I don't believe multitasking is real. I think it's a myth. And I've studied a lot, read a lot about it. There's a lot of scientific studies, neurological studies they've done that say the brain is actually not capable of multitasking. What it does is what psychologists call task switching. So your brain is actually just switching from one thing to the next thing, and back and forth and back and forth. And what they've discovered is you can do that when you're doing very simple tasks. You know, if you're feeding your infant breakfast, you know, in the morning, and okay, you're reading the news while he's eating his, you know, Cheerios or whatever, you can do that. But if you're trying to coach somebody or counsel somebody about their marriage, and you're also checking your Facebook feed, can't do that. Your brain is going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and they actually discovered it's the same effect as if you have jet lag. That's what it does to your brain when you're trying to switch back and forth and back and forth. So we can argue about that afterwards, but I don't think we really multitask. I think we go back and forth and back and forth. So I learned to focus on one thing at a time. Turn your cell phone off and talk to the person that you're with, or have all of your staff or your team put their cell phones in the middle of the table and not check their cell phones during the staff meeting, and focus on what you're doing. That's a system. Learn to do one thing at a time. And then the last system that I would say is if you're planning your day, how many of you make a to-do list for the day? Okay, I do that. I've done that for years. And I learned this. My vision for the day often outweighs or exceeds what is possible to do in those hours, right? How many of you end up with things on the bottom of your to-do list and you never got to it? And what does that do at the end of the day? Do you feel good about the day, or you feel stressed? Now you feel stressed because why? If you're an achiever, what happens to those 5, 6, 7 things from your list? You are moving it to the next day, right? That you already had things planned to do, and now you're even more stressed. So what I learned to do is to choose a daily big 3. Choose 3 big things that you need to accomplish. Now, I'm not going to go into all of how to find those, but those big 3 things should be strategic. They should be things that connect to your goals, connect to your vision, connect to what you're trying to do in the next few months in your ministry. And you've chosen these 3 big things. And if I can get those 3 big things done first and prioritize them, then the rest of the day can move a little more stress-free. Now, I'm still doing things. I don't accomplish 3 things and then go play golf, okay? That's not what I do. But I accomplish these 3 big things. I like golf, but I don't do that. I accomplish those things, and then I work on the other stuff that's remaining, that's left over, okay? So I hope that makes sense. All those things are just systems. Having themes for your life, for your week, and putting those things into those categories, learning to create a to-do list of those daily 3 things that you're going to do, and then doing one thing at a time. Don't be so distracted. Be present where you are when you're doing something. Those things honestly have helped me say no to opportunities, whether it's daily or weekly or just in the vision. So those are just some tools that we have.
I love it.